particularly in connection with Pakistan. Report highlights how online gaming platforms are being used by terror groups for recruitment and financing. Maharashtra CM says hooliganism doesn't send the right message, but no action yet against Shinde MLA Sanjay Gaikwad. Sena MLA gets Maharashtra FDA to inspect the canteen where he slapped the staffer instead. No end to the showdown on the streets of Maharashtra. MNS workers go on a rampage in Washim, vandalize a toll plaza. An Indian Air Force Jaguar trainer jet crashes in Churu in Rajasthan. IAF confirms both pilots dead. Court of inquiry ordered. Preliminary report on the Air India crash in Ahmedabad likely to be out soon. Probe focuses on engine fuel control switches and possible thrust loss after takeoff. Tragic accident in Vadodara in Gujarat. A portion of a bridge collapses. At least 5 vehicles plunge into the river. 9 killed, many injured. Rescue teams still on site. On this edition of The Nation at 5, we have a News 18 exclusive for you. We've accessed the FATF report of 2025. Pakistan-linked terror groups feature prominently in FATF's global risk assessment. It introduces the concept of state-sponsored terrorism for the first time in an international report. State-sponsored terrorism means a state actively financing terror activities as part of its state policy. Before this, India had identified state-sponsored terrorism from Pakistan as a source of terror financing in its MLTF risk assessment back in 2022. The finding of this report reinforces India's position that there are several groups that operate on Pakistani soil that fund terror and do it openly so. So here are the highlights of the FATF report that CNN News 18 has now accessed. The entire report talks about how UN designated groups have been operating from Pakistan. These find mention in the FATF report of 2025. Lashkar-e-Toiba is mentioned in that particular report. Jaish-e-Mohammed, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is the TTP, that finds mention in this report as well. Not only are these groups mentioned in the FATF report, but there's also a mention of how exactly this funding takes place, what the pattern really is. Hawala and unlicensed remittance systems are widely used, says the FATF, for moving funds across borders. There's a cash-based informal economy in border and rural areas especially, and that really is a key enabler as far as the FATF goes. The Financial Action Task Force has flagged the misuse of non-profit organizations and charities in Pakistan, which are often used as fronts to raise and route these funds. Online platforms, including social media and messaging apps, are being used by Pakistan-based groups for crowdfunding for foreign donations, is also an observation that the Financial Action Task Force has made. There are virtual assets like cryptocurrencies that are increasingly adopted for covert terror financing by Pak-linked outfits as well. This is what the FATF has now gone on to say. Another interesting aspect of this entire report is the fact that online gaming platforms could also be used as terror fronts, as a method of funding and recruitment, as per the Financial Action Task Force. What they claim is that these games allow cross-border value transfers, that these transfers are extremely difficult to trace because they can bounce around in different parts of the world. These in-game assets are then converted into real money, and that's how you can use this kind of money for funding terror groups and terror activities. There's a minimal KYC enforcement that's done on these gaming platforms by their respective governments in the countries that they are belonging to, the countries that they originate from. The chat features that are there on these gaming platforms, they're often encrypted and they bypass any kind of surveillance, which is why these terror groups use these chat boxes as a medium of communication. The wallet on these online gaming platforms, their top-ups, their voucher resales, they're all vulnerable to abuse, and that is something that these terror organizations are abusing openly and freely, says the FATF. My colleagues Pallavi and Siddhant join us, getting us more perspective on this. Pallavi, coming to you first, you've accessed this report for us. It's no surprise that Pakistan-based terror groups, UN-designated terror groups are on this list. But there are some interesting findings that come to the fore, and one aspect of that is the use of these online gaming platforms.
Yes, absolutely. And what is interesting and significant, I would say, about the updated version of this FATF report is the fact that it actually does talk about state sponsored terrorism, because normally it's usually shied away from that. And this is a point which India has been making. And in fact, Department of Revenue within the Finance Ministry in all the three letters have pointed a finger at Pakistan, saying that that is indeed a state sponsored terrorism. And therefore, any kind of money which is given to them by way of international financial institutions should be barred, and that is why Pakistan needs to be put on the grey list. Now, what is also very, very important and interesting and significant, as you correctly pointed out, is that how is this money also being generated? Where is the money being diverted? There is a dark world of the web, cryptocurrency, online gaming. According to this report, these are the very clandestine ways in which money is actually being generated and made by countries like Pakistan. And this money is not being used for the welfare of the people. It is not going to the actual beneficiaries who it should be going to, but it is only being diverted to fund all the terror activities. So these are the grounds on which the updated version of the FATF report has given out a fit case on why stringent action needs to be taken against the countries which indulge in state-sponsored terrorism.
And this is what India has been saying all along, Siddhant, isn't it? India has been saying that the lines between state-sponsored terrorism, non-state actors, that line is quite blurred when it comes to Pakistan. And it looks like that stance has echoed as far as the Financial Action Task Force is concerned.
Well, that's right, Poonam. And often it is required that some neutral institution or neutral agency perhaps come up with such reports. Perhaps it is received by the other countries in a nice way, because when India says something, they say that's the claim which India is making. When India says that Abdul Rauf was present at the time of the state funeral being given to the terrorists, perhaps world will not believe. But when some neutral agency comes up with these conclusions, with these details, perhaps it does leave a lot of impact. And this report, which has been accessed by my colleague Pallavi, perhaps talks about Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, cross-border operations have been mentioned, perhaps something which India has time and again spoken about, that how there has been a cross-border movement of terrorist funds. In fact, in the recent BRICS joint declaration also, this particular paragraph was mentioned. This report also talks about Poonam Hawala, unlicensed remittances systems widely used for moving funds cross-border. Cash-based informal economy, border rural areas remain a key enabler. FATF flagged the misuse of non-profit organizations, Poonam, charities in Pakistan to raise and route funds. Online gaming platform, as you were pointing out, virtual assets, cryptocurrencies are increasingly adopted for covert terror financing by Pakistan-linked outfit. Perhaps India has already, raised concern about the crypto deals that the government of Pakistan is signing with various companies. Perhaps it could also be used for terror operations or movement of funds through Hawala, etc., etc. So these are some very important details that have been mentioned in this updated FATF report, and perhaps the international institutions should take note of it. Also, Poonam, it's also important for institutions like UNSC, which has given a platform to Pakistan to be the non-permanent member. Perhaps they should also take note of this particular report. And also, words should now understand that why Pakistan should be put in a grey list of FATF. So, this report says it all. And this is not something which India is saying. This is not a report of an Indian government or Indian intel agency. This is a neutral observer. FATF is a neutral agency. So perhaps, it holds a lot of significance and importance, and Pakistan stands exposed that how Hawala route, NGO route, gaming applications, are being used for terror-related activities in Pakistan. So it's an eye opener for the world, and this is exactly what India has been saying at every multilateral forum. In fact, India did not sign the joint declaration or at the SCO defense ministers meet, only because word cross-border terrorism was not mentioned. So, it is for such groupings, the countries which have been backing Pakistan, openly, still think that Pakistan is
Sure. So it is
not
an
into
eye-opener
cross-border
for allies of Pakistan, for the world as well, and also for the FATF, because all of these observations have come to the fore in this report, but Pakistan is still not on the grey or the black list of the FATF. In fact, there are more revelations that are coming out as we peruse through that entire document, and what we're learning is that the misuse of e-commerce platforms for terror financing has also been observed by the FATF. This report mentions specific attacks in India. The Pulwama attack of February 2019 that killed 40 CRPF personnel was mentioned in the report. A key component of the improvised explosive device used in that attack, which is aluminum powder, was procured through e-commerce platforms, is what the FATF has gone on to say. Now, Pallavi, we're getting more details that are trickling in as far as the FATF report goes. There are two specific attacks that they have spoken of. One is this Pulwama attack. The other is the one attack in Uttar Pradesh, if I'm not mistaken. And in both these cases, they claim that there were e-commerce platforms that were used to buy certain or procure certain explosives or any other items that were required to set off these bombs.
Poonam, one of the main reasons why our government has been extremely careful and meticulous, especially every time this kind of an attack takes place, is to snap off any kind of internet connections. And, there was this concern which was raised about switching off trade routes between Pakistan or third-party routes, for example, Dubai. But adding on to that, the government also ensured that any kind of internet trade or e-commerce, that is something which really needs to be stopped, because this has been a consistent worry. In fact, one of the few gray areas and one of the areas of concern as far as the government has been on online gaming, cryptocurrency, e-commerce, which is why the government is very, very clear about how it requires certain more of monitoring. There needs to be more stringent monitoring of this, because they know this is something which can be open to misuse. I remember finance ministry sources would often tell us that whenever the GST council meeting is held on cryptocurrency or online gaming, and whenever we talk about kind of changing or opening up these particular scene, the reason why India is reticent about it is because we are very vulnerable, because there are people or monsters, to use the word which someone from the government told me, around us, and they are the ones who misuse the e-commerce portal, who misuse the internet to try and target us. And they do it in two ways. Cryptocurrency, online gaming is one way we can be targeted, and the second, more importantly, is very difficult to reach out and track down the money trail. That's what is one area of concern. So where is this money coming in from? Which route is it taking? It may not happen directly between, say, India and Pakistan through the e-commerce route. There are those third-party routes like, say, Dubai or any other so-called friendly country in the Middle East, and Turkey for that matter. This is one concern which has also been flagged off in this updated, and the fact that FATF is finally acknowledging the misuse of these kind of portals is, emboldened and given us a lot of optimism that come September, October, when the FATF meeting will take place, Pakistan is likely to be put on the grey list when it was removed last in 2022.
And Pallavi, that was going to be my next question, that despite these observations coming to the fore, some of them as scathing as they are, why is it that the Pakistani state not on the grey list at least? I mean, India has been pushing for a blacklist of Pakistan for all its terror financing and terror activities.
So we have to understand the Department of Revenue is a nodal department within the Finance Ministry, which sends out these kind of notifications as far as, for example, the FATF is concerned, and to the international financial institutions. But its only job is to track down on money laundering. It is on that Pakistan has always managed to get away by showing that there has been no money laundering which has taken place. Neither has there been any siphoning of funds to funds terror activities. When the FATF is coming out with these updated details, it actually changes the entire line of argument and the modalities, which is why, as I said, Poonam, our government is very, very hopeful that finally Pakistan is going to be put on the grey list, because it seems to be a kind of an acknowledgement of the fact that there is a possibility that there's more to behind the so-called money laundering. It is not just on your run-of-the-mill kind of money laundering. Money is actually being diverted not for the benefit of the people of Pakistan, but only to keep these kind of terror hubs alive.
Armed with this particular report of 2025 of the FATF, is India now going to be diplomatically making more moves against Pakistan, like the exercises that we've undertaken, going to the world, telling them about Operation Sindoor and the aftermath, and why India took the kind of decisions that it did?
Well, yes, that's right, Poonam. This will, be making India's narrative at the global level even more powerful, because, so far, Poonam, we have seen that, Pakistan each time around comes up with a counter that it's India, its hegemonic policies, etc., have had unleashed war on us, etc., etc. But this is for the first time after Operation Sindoor that such report has been published by a neutral agency. So definitely this is going to, this will help India in its global outreach. And, a neutral agency, as I said before, that such reports from neutral agencies are required time and again, perhaps to expose Pakistan. Because, when it comes to India making some allegations, some claims, or India saying something, word says that India keeps saying this for Pakistan, etc., without even, taking a look at a background of what Pakistan has been doing, or what their defense minister has confessed that they have been doing dirty works, etc., etc. So such neutral reports make India's case even more powerful in the global court of narrative. And as Pallavi was also pointing out, that this time around Indian government is even more confident right after this report. This is nothing but an acknowledgement, Poonam, of the claims which India has been making from a very long time against Pakistan.
Absolutely. And speaking of Pakistan, there are Pakistani proxies, those who do Pakistan's bidding here in India as well. And Arunima, I want to get you in on that. Terror financing is something that the NIA has also been looking at, cracking down on, especially in the last several years. The kind of revelations that have come to the fore from this FATF report of Pakistan's link and how they've been funneling this money across borders. Will the NIA also now look into whether that is still being done into India?
See, it is on the basis of NIA's charge sheet in Pulwama that FATF has cited that how e-commerce platforms are being used by terror groups to procure materials for IED. In Pulwama, for example, there was an aluminium powder that was required to mix with the RDX that was smuggled in from Pakistan. NIA found that detail during their investigation. It's mentioned in their charge sheet. It is that charge sheet that FATF has cited. What India's security grid is asking is that if FATF, even in 2025, feels that there is a state-sponsored terrorism, if it feels that indeed these terrorists are getting some kind of a patronage from the state, so then why is Pakistan not on the grey list still? Why has it been taken off? So the next course of action for India, as per the security grid officials, should be to once again pressurize the FATF member countries to crack down on Pakistan, especially in light of what has happened in Pahalgam. But the geopolitics might, be an impediment. It had taken India a lot of work to get Pakistan on FATF's grey list in the past. Now, after Pahalgam, if NIA's charge sheet manages to pin down state sponsorship of Pahalgam terrorists once again, perhaps India will have a case before FATF to put Pakistan back on the grey list.
And that's the hope as far as India's fight against terror is concerned, that the next time when the FATF meets, that's perhaps in September this year, that is when that push will come to the fore. Siddhant and Arunima, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Shifting focus now to the tariff threat coming in from the United States that continues to hang over India. Tariffs on pharmaceutical imports could be as high as 200% within a year, said President Donald Trump. Government sources in India are now saying that India is unlikely to give any more concessions, that India, as far as a trade deal is concerned, has decided that this is what we want, at least for the mini deal, and now the ball is in US President's court. Donald Trump has said that he is going to be announcing that he will unveil a new round of trade-related correspondence in a few hours from now. At least 7 additional countries will be hit with fresh reciprocal tariff measures, is the confirmation that came in from the White House. Donald Trump also confirmed that a 50% tariff will be imposed on copper imports as far as trade deals between India and the United States is concerned. Whether or not there is a mini deal in the next 24 hours which will help India escape that tariff, that's something that we'll find out in a few hours from now.
Because BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar. Tariffs are charged by other countries at levels that are ridiculous. And you know, I call those other countries, and every one of them is willing to give us everything now. For years they ripped us off, and we didn't have a president that understood it.
Now, Donald Trump has threatened fresh tariffs, and there are several things that he spoke of. When they'll come into effect, that's something that we'll have to look at. But here's what he announced just yesterday. 10% on BRICS nations. He said that the BRICS grouping was formed to take down the dollar, and that's something that the US president will not stand for, which is why an additional 10% on BRICS nations or any nations that are aligned with the BRICS grouping will have to pay the price off, is what Donald Trump said. He also announced 50% on copper imports, and pharma imports could also be seeing a very, very high rate of 200%, said the US president. But India has made it clear, to escape these tariffs, a trade deal is being looked at, but that does not mean that India will be working against India's interests. Those interests will be paramount, has been New Delhi's consistent stand. As far as two sectors, agriculture and dairy, is concerned, India has made it clear that we will not compromise our farmers' interests because the United States wants market access. As far as giving some leeway into tariff reductions is concerned, India has already said that we're ready to slash them on almonds, on cranberries, on bourbon whiskey, on certain motorcycles as well, including Harley Davidsons. As far as resistance of lowering duty is concerned, rice, wheat and maize will be kept out. That's where India has drawn the red line. Now, this interim trade deal, or a mini trade deal as it's being touted as, that aims to reduce tariffs and address several key areas of concern. Now, India has said that all we've done is this is the best that we can do, and now it is up to the White House, it is up to the United States president to sign on the dotted line and get this deal finalized. A larger bilateral trade agreement is also in discussion. That's on the anvil, but discussions on those will only begin after today, is what we're given to understand. Pallavi now joins us, getting us more details of what is expected. Pallavi, for the last 2 or 3 days, we've been talking about this mini trade deal and the announcement coming to the fore on that. That announcement so far has eluded us. Can we expect that to happen in the next few hours or so?
Well, one certainly hopes so, because 9th July is the cutoff period for the 90-day reprieve which was given by the American president. So time is running out, and the first 2 days the letters have been to countries like Bangladesh, to Bosnia, to South Korea, to Japan, and the rate of tariff which has been imposed have been really very high, more than 25%, 36 to 37% in some cases. In that sense, India is certainly more optimistic that it could be a mutually beneficial tariff rate which could be fixed between the two countries. There have been indications which often have been coming in from the American president that I'm working on a good deal with India. But India has drawn a line. There is a Lakshman Rekha, and that is regarding the dairy products, much of the agro products, given the economic and political sensitivity attached to these two sectors back home over here in India. And the negotiations are over. Rajesh Agarwal came back. He's been the chief negotiator. And all indications are coming in from the government that the first part of what is called the mini deal would not include those areas which India doesn't want to give up on, which is the dairy products and the agro products. So on others, we have been kind of ready to open up. American cons, many of them which you also pointed out. We are also particularly sensitive about, say, labor-intensive products like gems, jewelry, footwear, carpets, which really is important for our livelihood. In the future, pharma, where 200% Donald Trump is talking about. Again, when he talks about, say, copper, when he talks about a 10% straight tariff on all those who are members of the BRICS, these are worrying signs. But as of now, hopefully tonight that letter is released by the American president, which should be good news in a sense for India.
We certainly hope that it is. Pallavi, at the moment though, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We'll keep a track of that and much more here on Nation at 5. But for now, it's time for a quick break.
This is the track.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Absolutely, Akash. Continue to stay with us. Rather unfortunate as we are learning of this Jaguar fighter crash that has happened. This is in the Churu district of Rajasthan. We are awaiting more details, but worrying sort of first instances that are coming to light, as you can see in these visuals, where we see the wreckage that is spilled over in this patch of land. It has in fact scattered. Was it a mid-air crash? What resulted in the crash? All of those details are right now being ascertained. But let's take a look at this possible flight trajectory, where this Indian Air Force Jaguar jet really was going to. Did it in fact fly out of the Bikaner Air Base? For all those details, my colleague Toya Singh is joining us live from the CNN News 18 newsroom. Toya?
Hi, Griha. We want to draw our audience's attention right now to where this incident actually happened. So we're telling our audience it happened in Ratnagar, and we'll just zoom in a second. This is obviously a tehsil in the Churu district, and we'll bring you more context in a second. But first, as you can see, this is how far it is from Bikaner. We wanted to show you, just to zoom in a little bit to how close it was. But over here, this is the Ratnagar area, and this jet, as we're talking about, has clearly gone down somewhere in the field areas. So we'll show you more context as it comes in. But this is obviously taking place in the Ratnagar region. It's a tehsil, it's a district, as you can see, in Rajasthan, a little while away from Bikaner.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nation at 5. We have some breaking news that's now coming in. This is to do with the Delhi riots case. Delhi police now strongly oppose bail to accuse Sharjeel Imam in the 2020 riots conspiracy case. In fact, during the course of the hearing, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who appeared for the Delhi police, said that Sharjeel Imam was a key conspirator and he wanted to defame India at a global stage. He also went on to say that this case cannot be treated as any other riots case because this had larger implications. For now, what we're learning is that the court has reserved its order on bail pleas of two of the accused, including Sharjeel Imam. Ananya now joins us, getting us more details. Do take our viewers through, Ananya, what exactly transpired in court?
Well, yes, the Delhi High Court has now reserved its order as far as the bail applications, Sharjeel Imam, Umar Khalid and various other accused in the 2020 Delhi riots case is concerned. The big statements coming out from, in fact, the topmost law officer of the country is that it was one of the finest investigations that the Delhi police have conducted, wherein over 58 statements under the section 164 of the CRPC, which means the statements before the magistrates have been recorded of protected witnesses. Not only that, it has also gone on to say that this is not a case of mere riots. It's a case which was hatched in order to, in fact, hit the sovereignty of the country. It was an attack on the nation's sovereignty, is what the Solicitor General had gone on to say. In fact, he also highlighted how Sharjeel Imam, Umar Khalid and others were actually alleging a conspiracy, a premeditated conspiracy in order to cause riots and chaos in the national capital, so as a global message could be sent out and the global media could actually cover it, is what the Solicitor General had gone on to say. He also stated that these people were not planning mere riots, but were hitting at the sovereignty of the country. They wanted to defame the country on, in fact, a global level. And that is something, why these people should not be granted bail, is what the solicitor had gone on to say. He also referred, in fact, to Sharjeel Imam's statement where he had stated that, there has to be a chicken neck. The chicken neck has to be cut, basically meaning that Assam should be, the Northeast should be cut from the rest of India. And that, he said, is something that was being done in order to divide the nation on religious grounds. And in fact, he also is a conspiracy where the social fabric of the Jawaharlal Nehru University was actually broken, and then this conspiracy was actually formed in order to create premeditated riots so that a global message could be sent out and India could be defamed globally, while there was a head of a state of another country was coming in India at that particular point of time. Poonam.
Right, the kind of argument that was made from Sharjeel Imam and from Umar Khalid, who are seeking bail, was that they pointed out to the long incarceration. They were arrested back in 2020, a few months after the riots broke out in the Northeast Delhi. They talk about how other accused in this case have been given bail, but they haven't, which is prejudicial, is the claim that their lawyers have believed to have made in court.
Incarceration is in fact a ground that's been taken by all of the major accused in this particular case, whether it's Sharjeel Imam, whether it's Umar Khalid. All of them have taken that claim. However, countering all of that, the Solicitor General, the topmost law officer of the country, went on to very categorically say that, it is not merely a case of riots. It should not be seen just as a case of riots, but is a case which hits at the sovereignty of the nation. It hits, and there was a narrative, Poonam, if you remember, that was created that these intellectuals like Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam on social media and various other platforms, that these are intellectuals who have been, in fact, jailed for a long time. They have been incarcerated for a long time. However, countering that argument, in fact, the Solicitor General said that these were not intellectuals, but people who were planning and plotting against the country itself.
Right, Ananya, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Moving on now to what's transpiring in Maharashtra, and there is wanton hooliganism that we are seeing on the streets. Showdown by MNS workers continues. Fresh incident came to the fore today, where MNS workers vandalized the Dumka-Tondgaon toll plaza on the Akola-Nanded highway. They claimed that they did so over lack of basic facilities at the toll plaza, accusing authorities of collecting toll without these amenities. In another instance that came to the fore, an embarrassment for Eknath Shinde, where his party's MLA Sanjay Gaikwad said that he had no regret despite him being caught on camera slapping a restaurant staff member. Reacting sharply to the incident, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis, not only condemned it, he called it completely inappropriate and said that this kind of instances do not send the right message. He said that it is a wrong message to the people, it tarnishes the image of elected representatives, and there is no defense that both of these leaders had claimed for.
कल रात में जो शिवसेना के विधायक हैं, संजय गायकवाड बुल्ढाना से विधायक हैं, वो इसी एमएलए हॉस्टल की कैंटीन से उन्होंने खाना ऑर्डर किया था। खाना सही ना होने के बाद से वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा नाराज़ थे। नाराज़ होने के बाद वो खुद अपने कुछ लोगों के साथ इस कैंटीन में आते हैं और मारपीट करते हैं। देखिए इसी कल शाम का वक्त था जब संजय गायकवाड को काफ़ी ज़्यादा नाराज़ हो गए थे कि उनका आरोप है कि उनको खाना अच्छा नहीं मिला था, जिसके बाद वो खुद खाना लेके आए और यहाँ पे जो मैनेजर थे उनके साथ उन्हें पूछताछ की और खाना अच्छा ना होने के बाद यहीं पर जो कर्मचारी थे कैंटीन के उनके साथ मारपीट भी की। कुछ लोगों से बात करते हैं। सर ये बताइए कि कल हुआ क्या था एग्जैक्टली, कितने बजे की घटना है ये?
सर कल आसपास 9:30 बजे का हो गया।
हाँ, क्या हुआ था?
वो कुछ दाल में थोड़ा खराबी निकला बोल के आके सर ने मारा।
क्या था?
दाल में कुछ खराबी निकला बोल के।
ओके,
बाकी कुछ बाद में मारा सर ने आके मारा।
क्या खराबी तो बोलते कि खाना अच्छा नहीं मिलता था?
नहीं ऐसा नहीं, वो आप पब्लिक से पूछ सकते हैं, खाना अच्छा नहीं मिला, हम लोग खुद बोल नहीं सकते ना सर।
ओके, तो क्या ये संजय गायकवाड जी के रूम में ऑर्डर किया था खाना कि उन्होंने यहाँ पे आके खाया था?
रूम पे ऑर्डर किया।
फिर क्या हुआ?
वो उधर से नीचे लेके आया था, बाद में आपको दिख रहे हैं ना टीवी में।
ओके, जो मैनेजर के साथ मारपीट की थी कि कुक के साथ मारपीट की?
मैनेजर के साथ मारपीट।
क्या नाम था उसका?
योगेश पुत्रम। योगेश पुत्रम।
आपको बताना चाहेंगे कि इसी जो सामने कैंटीन देखा, अगर मैं आपको कैंटीन के किचन दिखाना चाहूँगा, यहीं पर पूरा खाना बनता है और जो उन्होंने रूम में ऑर्डर दिया था, रूम में ऑर्डर देने के बाद उनके ऊपर बताया गया कि दाल में कुछ खराबी थी, जिसके बाद काफ़ी ज़्यादा इशू हो गया, काफ़ी ज़्यादा बवाल हो गया। मैनेजर है, जो प्रेसिडेंट मैनेजर है, उनका भी साफ तौर पर कहना है कि मारना पीटना गलत बात थी। अगर उनके खाने में कोई दिक्कत थी तो उन्हें कंप्लेंट करनी चाहिए, कंप्लेंट के बाद उसे सुधारा जाता।
ये आकाशवाणी की जो कैंटीन है, मैं 30 साल से यहाँ पर आता हूँ और 5.5 साल से यहाँ रह रहा हूँ। मैंने कई बार इनके खाने के बारे में इनको समझाया कि आप खाना अच्छा दिया करो। 15 दिन का अंडा, 15-20 दिन का नॉनवेज, सब्जियाँ 2-2, 4-4 दिन की। तो इसकी वजह से पूरे महाराष्ट्र के जो करीबन रोज़ाना यहाँ पर 5-10 हज़ार लोग जो आते हैं वो सब यहाँ खाना खाते हैं और हर किसी की यही कंप्लेंट है। किसके खाने में छिपकली निकलती है, किसके खाने में चूहा निकलता है, किसी खाने में रस्सी निकलती है। आज हजारों लोग वहाँ आते हैं, कर्मचारी आते हैं, पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता आते हैं। आप इसी तरह का खाना अगर उनको पेश करते हैं या देते हैं तो उनकी तो जान खतरे में। इसलिए जो रिएक्शन मेरी बात में रात में आई, तो बहुत समझाने के बाद में, हर भाषा में समझाने के बाद, अगर ये लोग सुधरते नहीं है तो मुझे मेरी स्टाइल से मुझसे बात करना पडेगा।
नाही, परब साहेबांचं जरी मत असलं की टावेलवर का मारलं, तरी टावेलवर मारलं किंवा कशावरही मारलं तरी ते चुकीचंच आहे, ते योग्य नाही आहे। आणि यातनं सगळ्या आमदारांबद्दल लोकांमध्ये भावना चुकीची जाते। आपण कुठेतरी सत्तेचा गैरवापर करतो किंवा आपण सगळे आमदार म्हणून आपलं कंडक्ट योग्य नाही, अशा प्रकारचं लोकांमध्ये या संदर्भातली भावना जाते। आणि म्हणून निश्चितपणे मला असं वाटतं की अतिशय गंभीर बाब आहे। आपण आणि माननीय अध्यक्ष या दोघांनी याचा कॉग्निझन्स घ्यावा आणि या संदर्भात काय पुढील कारवाई करायची ते आपण करावी.
Mayuresh, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details on this. Mayuresh, we're given to understand that after meeting the speaker, this Shinde Sena MLA got an inspection done by the FDA at this particular canteen. But what about action against him? Is the party going to take any action?
So, party chief leader Eknath Shinde has also given a statement, and he has also condemned this kind of attack. But there is no action from the party chief yet on this particular MLA. And if you remember, that this is not the first instance. From past many months, we are seeing that this particular MLA is either giving some kind of statement, he's using foul language. So he's known to make these kind of things. But today, we just heard the reaction of Maharashtra CM also. He has asked the Honorable Chair to decide the further course of action, and he has asked the Chair to take a decision on this regard. So we are waiting to hear from the Chair that what exactly they have decided in this regard, because Fadnavis have made it clear when any people representative does this kind of a thing, then certainly it gives a wrong message in the public, and the perception of all the elected representatives get changed in minds of public. So that's why it would be interesting to see that what kind of action the state government takes, and also what disciplinary action the Shiv Sena led by Eknath Shinde takes against their own MLA.
Right, Mayuresh, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Let's listen into some more reactions that have poured in.
उल्टी हो गया वो में तो वॉमिटिंग हो गया और इसलिए उन्होंने गुस्से में आकर वो मारपीट की. उसका मैं समर्थन नहीं करूँगा और हम लोक प्रतिनिधि है, विधायक है, तो हमारी जिम्मेदारी है. कानूनी कार्रवाई के लिए हमारे पास अधिकार है. तो अगर जिधर गलत होता है तो उसके ऊपर कानूनी कार्रवाई हो सकती है, लेकिन मारपीट करना ये उचित नहीं है.
मेरे पार्टी का है, मेरे पार्टी का नहीं हो सकता. एसएनसी गटाचं आहे ना तो, त्याचं नाम ही एसएनसी है और क्या उससे उम्मीद कर सकते हैं. लेकिन ये भी मुझे लगता है कि कुछ ना कुछ चल रहा है. मुख्यमंत्री जी को बदनाम करने का कुछ तो साजिश चल रही है. तो मुख्यमंत्री उन्होंने उनकी एंटेना जो है वो ऑन रखनी चाहिए.
हमारे साथ कांग्रेस नेता नाना पटोले जी, उनसे बात करते हैं. सर, जिस तरीके से एमएलए गेस्ट हाउस में कैंटीन में, सरकारी कैंटीन में जो शिवसेना के विधायक हैं संजय गायकवाड़, उन्होंने कैंटीन वालों को मारा पीटा है, उसको लेकर क्या बोलना चाहेंगे?
देखो, इस बात की घटना का हम निषेध करते हैं. कानून किसी को भी हाथ लेने में अधिकार नहीं है, लेकिन जिस तरह से सत्ता की जो मस्ती ये सरकार के लोगों पे आई है और इनको अब लोगों का डर ही खत्म हो चुका है. अगर वहाँ खाना अच्छा नहीं मिल रहा है तो कार्रवाई करने का अधिकार है, तो कानून हाथ में लेने का क्या अधिकार है? तो इसका मतलब है कि, और हमने विधानसभा अध्यक्ष को भी कहा है, बोले कि हम लोग क्या एक्शन लेने का हम देखते हैं. देखो, सरकार करे और विधानसभा अध्यक्ष करे, क्योंकि विधानमंडल का भी इसमें कुछ होता है तो विधानसभा अध्यक्ष की जवाबदारी जाती है. तो इसलिए विधानसभा अध्यक्ष क्या एक्शन लेते हैं वो देख रहे हैं.
आप लोगों ने कंप्लेंट की है?
मैंने बात किया उनसे और उन्होंने बोला कि मैं खुद एक्शन लेता हूँ.
Shifting focus now, the grand stage of the Lords is set for a blockbuster clash as India take on England in the third test of the series. The contest is finally poised after the opening games. All eyes are now on this pivotal encounter. India, buoyed by their home advantage and depth in spin, will look to assert dominance. But England, under Ben Stokes' leadership, aims to outplay. In the latest, England has announced their squad. The big headline is the return of Jofra Archer. He's back in the test setup after nearly 4 years. He has replaced Josh Tongue in the squad. His inclusion adds serious space to England's bowling attack as the series heats up.
शुभमन गिल ने कमाल की कप्तानी की है, कमाल की बैटिंग की है. आई एम वेरी प्राउड ऑफ हिम. आई एम श्योर उनके फादर भी बहुत प्राउड हो गए जिन्होंने शुभमन पे इतनी मेहनत की है. और टेस्ट क्रिकेट की कप्तानी एक्सेप्ट करना, वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेना और ग्राउंड पे वो दिखाना. सो आई एम वेरी इम्प्रेस्ड, आई एम वेरी प्राउड ऑफ हिम एंड आई रियली होप ही गोज ऑन टू मेक अ लॉट ऑफ हंड्रेड्स इन इंटरनेशनल क्रिकेट. ओवरऑल परफॉर्मेंस आउटस्टैंडिंग. डीएसपी साहब मोहम्मद सिराज ने कमाल की बॉलिंग की. आकाशदीप ने कमाल की बॉलिंग की सेकंड इनिंग में, जडेजा ने कमाल की बैटिंग की, ऋषभ अच्छा खेला, वेरी इम्प्रेसिव आकाशदीप.
I mean, they're brilliant batters. There's a lot of batters. There's a lot of young batters, and there's a lot of players that are not even in this team that are world class. So it doesn't surprise me to see the runs that they're scoring. Lords is a big test match. It's a big test match. What often happens at Lords is that the opposition team turns up. The opposition batters want to get on the honours board. The opposition bowlers want to get on the honours board. So Lords is going to be it's a big test match, and the weather's set fair. It's going to be 30 degrees every day. The wicket's going to be flat, so it's going to be a batsman's paradise. If you want to bat anywhere in the world next week, Lords is the place to bat.
My colleague Rajiv Mishra joins us from London, from in fact outside the Lords. एक दिन बचा है Rajiv for that third test. Score अभी equal चल रहा है, but India of course is going to be wanting to repeat the performance from the second test.
बिल्कुल, इसमें कोई शक भी नहीं. और मेरे ठीक पीछे इस समय मैं लॉर्ड्स स्टेडियम के अंदर हूँ, और मेरे ठीक पीछे अगर आप देखें तो पिच पर क्यूरेटर्स काम कर रहे हैं, और मेरे ठीक पीछे से आप देखिए तो इंडियन टीम निकल कर जा रही है. इनका प्रैक्टिस सेशन है इंग्लैंड टाइम के हिसाब से 1:30 इनका प्रैक्टिस सेशन होना है. इसके बाद एक्चुअल जो प्लेइंग 11 है वो पता चलेगी, लेकिन जो खबरें निकल कर आ रही वो यही है कि करुण नायर रहेंगे टीम में और जसप्रीत बुमराह टीम में वापस आएंगे, तो एक चेंज हो सकता है. और जैसा कि आपने पूछा कि जो विनिंग मोमेंटम है उसको बरकरार रखना कितना अहम होगा, तो इसमें कोई शक नहीं है कि भारतीय टीम ने बहुत अच्छी क्रिकेट खेली है एजबेस्टन में, और एजबेस्टन से जो जीत का विजय रथ है उसको लेकर वो अब पहुंचे हैं लॉर्ड्स में. और जो प्रैक्टिस सेशन कल हमने देखा, जो ऑप्शनल प्रैक्टिस सेशन था और आज जो प्रैक्टिस सेशन होना है, ये दोनों बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट प्रैक्टिस सेशन है. और क्योंकि जोफ्रा आर्चर अब इंग्लैंड टीम में जोड़े गए हैं, तो एक नई स्ट्रैटेजी अब उनके अगेंस्ट बनेगी और वो प्रैक्टिस सेशन में नजर भी आएगी. तो ओवरऑल एक हिस्टोरिकल ग्राउंड, हम सब बहुत लकी हैं कि लॉर्ड्स कई बार आने का मौका मिला. मेरे ठीक पीछे वो बालकनी भी आपको दिख रही होगी जहाँ पे कपिल बाजी ने 1983 में वर्ल्ड कप जीत कर वहाँ पे खड़े हुए. 2002 नेटवेस्ट ट्रॉफी में सौरव गांगुली, तो क्या पता 2025 में हम शुभमन गिल को भी इसी बालकनी में खड़े होकर भारतीय टीम का जश्न मनाते देख पाए.
जी बिल्कुल, लॉर्ड्स की बात की जाए तो आइकॉनिक लोकेशन है, या आइकॉनिक वेन्यू है ही फॉर एन इंडिया इंग्लैंड टेस्ट, बट हिस्टोरिकली देखा जाए तो England does have an advantage as far as Lords is concerned. Is that something that worries? Is that something that Team India शायद सोच रही है कि कैसे देखा जाए इसको? Is that something that causes pressure?
देखिए, थोड़ा सा प्रेशर तो है लॉर्ड्स में, क्योंकि लॉर्ड्स में जो हम पहला टेस्ट मैच जीते थे 1986 यानी 1986 में हम जीते थे. कपिल देव तब टीम के कैप्टन थे, और 2007 में एक टेस्ट मैच हमने जीता है यहाँ पर. तो जो ओवरऑल अभी तक यहाँ का रिकॉर्ड है, सिर्फ 3 टेस्ट मैच ही हम जीत पाए. लेकिन जो अच्छी बात यह है कि एजबेस्टन में हम कभी भी टेस्ट मैच नहीं जीते थे. 1967 से वहाँ पे हम टेस्ट मैचेस खेल रहे थे, और पहली बार शुभमन की कप्तानी में हमने वहाँ पर टेस्ट मैच जीता. तो हिस्ट्री बदलने की मुझे लग रहा है कवायद सी चल रही है, एक प्रथा सी ये यंग टीम लेके आई है. और कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है कि हम लॉर्ड्स के इस हिस्टोरिकल ग्राउंड में भी एक और जीत देख पाए, क्योंकि देखिए बहुत बैलेंस टीम है भारतीय टीम के पास. बॉलिंग अटैक अब जसप्रीत बुमराह के आने से और ज़्यादा ताकतवर हो गया है. और साथ ही यहाँ के लॉर्ड्स की जो स्लोप की हम अक्सर बात करते हैं, वो स्लोप बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज देता है उन गेंदबाजों को जिनके पास अच्छा स्विंग है, जिनके हाथ में अच्छा स्किल सेटअप है. तो मुझे लग रहा है आकाश जी, जसप्रीत बुमराह और सिराज, ये जो तिकड़ी है वो यहाँ की पिच पर बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करेगी. और इंग्लैंड ने जिस तरह की डिमांड की थी दूसरा टेस्ट मैच हारने के बाद कि एक थोड़ा सा तेज पिच मिले, एक स्पोर्टिंग विकेट मिले, तो उसकी तैयारी तो मेरे ठीक पीछे चल रही है. एक्चुअल अभी इस पे कितनी घास छोड़ी जाएगी और कितना ये आने वाले समय में इंग्लैंड के तेज गेंदबाजों को मदद करेगी, या भारतीय जो कॉम्बिनेशन खिलाया जाएगा उसके लिए थोड़ा सा वेट करना पड़ेगा. लेकिन ओवरऑल ये जो टेस्ट मैच है, ये सीरीज का डिसाइडर एक तरह से आप कह सकती हैं कि यहाँ पे जो टीम जीतेगी वो एक बड़ा लीड लेकर जो मैनचेस्टर जाएगी, और उसके बाद आखिरी टेस्ट मैच जो ओवल में खेला जाएगा.
जी बिल्कुल, इंग्लैंड का प्लेइंग 11 इज ऑलरेडी आउट. इंडिया का प्लेइंग 11 कुछ ही देर में पब्लिक हो सकता है, बट बुमराह वर्सेस जोफ्रा आर्चर वो देखने लायक होगा.
बिल्कुल। और देखिए दुनिया के दो सबसे तेज गेंदबाज, दुनिया के सबसे कहा जाए कि ब्रांड है अपने आप में, अपने अपने डिपार्टमेंट्स के। जोफ्रा आर्चर अगर इंग्लैंड के सबसे तेज गेंदबाज हैं तो जसप्रीत बुमराह वर्ल्ड के नंबर 1 तेज गेंदबाज हैं। फर्क बस इतना है कि जोफ्रा आर्चर 4 साल के बाद टेस्ट क्रिकेट खेलते नजर आएंगे। लगातार वो इंजर्ड थे। 2022 में आखिरी बार उन्होंने टेस्ट मैच खेला था। तो वो एक वरिंग फैक्टर इंग्लैंड के लिए भी है, क्योंकि अगर जोफ्रा आर्चर खुदा ना खास्ता 5 दिन का टेस्ट मैच है और अगर पहले दिन ही इंजर्ड हुए और वो इंजरी प्रो हैं, हम सब ने देखा आईपीएल के मैचेस में भी 1-2 मैच खेलते थे, सडनली उनकी इंजरी आती थी और फिर उनको बाहर बैठना पड़ता था। तो इंजरी प्रोन है। और जसप्रीत बुमराह के साथ भी एक प्रॉब्लम चल रही है इंजरी की, इसीलिए वो दूसरा टेस्ट मैच नहीं खेले। उनको फ्रेश रखने के लिए ही ये लॉर्ड्स के लिए उनको बचा के रखा गया था। और यहाँ की जिस तरह की पिच है, आपने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा कि वन ऑफ द जो बिगेस्ट जो यहाँ पर बैटल होगी वो इन दोनों फास्ट बॉलर्स के बीच में होगी और इनके हाथ में जीत की कुंजी होगी, क्योंकि इन दोनों में से जो अच्छा यहाँ पर स्पेल डालेगा, और छोटे छोटे स्पेल्स डालेंगे हम सबको पता है। और साथ ही जो बैकअप सपोर्ट है सिराज और आकाशदीप का जसप्रीत बुमराह के लिए, और उधर अगर हम बात करें इंग्लैंड के लिए तो बेन स्टोक्स है उनके पास और क्रिस वोक्स है जो उनका बैकअप सपोर्ट होंगे जोफ्रा आर्चर का। तो एक लीथल कॉम्बिनेशन है दोनों टीमों के पास। और मुझे लग रहा है आपने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा कि जो फास्ट बॉलर्स की जो ये लड़ाई है वो यहाँ पे तय करेगी कि लॉर्ड्स में कौन जीत कर मैनचेस्टर की तरफ आगे बढ़ेगा।
And that momentum is extremely needed for both teams going into the fourth test. What happens during during the third test, which begins tomorrow, that's something that will decide how the team goes into the fourth and the fifth test. But as far as playing 11 is concerned, Rajiv, आपके हिसाब से क्या होगा playing 11 में? क्या changes होंगे? कौन होगा, कौन नहीं होगा?
जी देखिए, भारत बहुत ज्यादा चेंजेस करेगा नहीं। कल प्रैक्टिस सेशन में भी थे हम लोग और आज जो प्रैक्टिस सेशन होगा एक्चुअल पिक्चर पता चलेगी। देखिए एक ही जगह बच रही है प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा की जगह ऑटोमेटिक चॉइस है जसप्रीत बुमराह। उनकी एंट्री हो चुकी है और कल एक लंबा सेशन उन्होंने नेट्स में किया। करीब लगभग 40 मिनट उन्होंने गेंदबाजी की और 20 से 22 मिनट उन्होंने बल्लेबाजी की। इसके अलावा कोई चेंज होगा नहीं। देखिए करुण नायर के बारे में कहा जा रहा था कि नंबर 3 पे मे बी उनको चेंज करके साई सुदर्शन को वापस लाया जाए, लेकिन टीम मैनेजमेंट की तरफ से इशारा एक तरह से मिल चुका है कि एक और चांस करुण नायर को मिलेगा और मे बी वॉशिंगटन सुंदर को भी भारतीय टीम यहाँ पर खिलाना चाहेगी, क्योंकि डे 4 डे 5 यहाँ पे जिस तरह की गर्मी है, अभी तो वेदर थोड़ा सा अप एंड डाउन हो रहा है, मुझे जैकेट डालनी पड़ी है यहाँ पे, लेकिन अदरवाइज 30 डिग्री टेम्परेचर है। और अगर विकेट का मॉइस्चर जाता है 3-4 दिन के बाद तो आपके दोनों स्पिनर प्ले में आएंगे, यानी रविंद्र जडेजा और वॉशिंगटन सुंदर, और दोनों ही बैटिंग अच्छी करते हैं, जो एक बड़ा एडवांटेज है कि बैटिंग को डेप्थ देते हैं। और इसी वजह से एजबेस्टन में अगर आप देखें इतने जो रन बनाए भारत ने और जिस पेस पे रन बनाए, जिससे उनको टाइम मिला कि वो इंग्लैंड को आउट कर सके, उसका बड़ा रीजन यही था कि उनके पास बैटिंग में डेप्थ थी। तो एक जो चेंज है वो मैंने आपको बताया प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा, एक ही मात्र चेंज होना है, बाकी सेम टीम खेलेगी। जो एजबेस्टन का जो विनिंग कॉम्बिनेशन था वो लॉर्ड्स में भी खेलता हुआ नजर आएगा।
Ji, Rajiv, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. India's playing 11. We'll find out soon enough. But the action is going to be at the Lords beginning tomorrow. And CNN News 18 will get you all of those details and much more. But for now, a quick break.
Brought to you by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Absolutely, Akash. Continue to stay with us. Rather unfortunate as we are learning of this Jaguar fighter crash that has happened. This is in the Churu district of Rajasthan. We are awaiting more details, but worrying sort of first instances that are coming to light, as you can see in these visuals, where we see the wreckage that is spilled over in this patch of land. It has in fact scattered. Was it a mid-air crash? What resulted in the crash? All of those details are right now being ascertained. But let's take a look at this possible flight trajectory, where this Indian Air Force Jaguar jet really was going to. Did it in fact fly out of the Bikaner Air Base? For all those details, my colleague Toya Singh is joining us live from the CNN News 18 newsroom. Toya?
I agree. We want to draw our audience's attention right now to where this incident actually happened. So we're telling our audience it happened in Rathangarh, and we'll just zoom in a second. This is obviously a tehsil in the Churu district, and we'll bring you more context in a second. But first, as you can see, this is how far it is from Bikaner. We wanted to show you, just to zoom in a little bit to how close it was. But over here, this is the Rathangarh area, and this jet, as we're talking about, has clearly gone down somewhere in the field areas. So we'll show you more context as it comes in. But this is obviously taking place in the Rathangarh region. It's a tehsil, it's a district, as you can see, in Rajasthan, a little while away from Bikaner. So that's exactly where this crash has happened. Over to you.
Right, Toya, thank you so much for that. So Toya, through that satellite imagery, was fairly giving you a sense of how far this crash really took place from the township of Rathangarh. And the proximity really will be able to tell you the story of how ghastly this entire incident could have gone on to become. This crash eventually happened in this open field. We're constantly putting out these visuals. But there were villagers who came to this crash site. They in fact saw what happened, and they were very, very close to where the wreckage fell and did not fall on one particular spot. The plane disintegrated, we are told, the jet disintegrated, and these are parts, certain body parts also of possibly the pilot on board in that fighter jet also were found by many of these onlookers. To explain this better, we have our defense correspondent Akash, who has been tracking all the developments of this rather unfortunate piece of news that we're tracking out of Rajasthan. Akash, you were telling us earlier how this is the third Jaguar crash that has been reported in the country, but the very first one in Rajasthan. Rajasthan so far has seen...
Welcome back. An Indian Air Force fighter jet crashed near Banoda village in Rajasthan's Churu area. The Indian Air Force reported that the pilots experienced a technical malfunction mid-flight and ejected in an effort to prevent damage to the airfield and surrounding populated areas. Eyewitnesses claim that the aircraft appeared to lose balance mid-air before it crashed into an open field. The IFS confirmed unfortunate deaths of both those pilots that were on board, expressing deep regret over the loss of lives. It stated that no damage was reported to civilian property, but a court of inquiry has been ordered to determine the cause of the crash. This happened a few hours ago. Unfortunately, two pilots, both of whom were killed. A court of inquiry will get us more details of what exactly transpired, what this malfunction was. But this is not the first time that a Jaguar has crashed. In fact, this is the third such incident that has been reported in just this year, in the last 6 months. The Indian Air Force has expressed its condolences to the family members of both these pilots and expressed their regrets for the loss of life. But questions are being raised over whether or not it is time to retire and phase out slowly these Jaguar jets that are a critical part of the Indian Air Force's arsenal. Shifting focus now to Gujarat, where the portion of a bridge over the Mahisagar River in Vadodara collapsed. It caused at least 4 vehicles to fall into the river. 9 people have lost their lives. This incident happened around 7:30 a.m. along a state highway. The vehicles involved included 2 trucks and 2 vans at least. Rescue teams have been working round the clock to pull out individuals to safety. Operations have been going on to locate many others who perhaps could have been trapped as well. Prime Minister Modi expressed his grief over the loss of life and announced an extra share of 2 lakh rupees to the family of the deceased and 50,000 rupees for those injured in this bridge collapse.
ये जो गंभीरा ब्रिज है वहाँ की तस्वीरें आप देख रहे हैं और ये महिसागर नदी के ऊपर से ये जो ब्रिज है वो जाता है और पादरा तहसील से आणंद जिले को जोड़ने का काम ये ब्रिज करता है। और अभी जो है रेस्क्यू की पूरी जो कार्रवाई है वो की जा रही है। NDRF, SDRF और फायर ब्रिगेड की ओर से पूरा रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन जो है वो चलाया जा रहा है। तकरीबन 9 लोगों को बचा लिया गया है और 9 लोगों की ये जो पूरी घटना हुई उसमें डेथ हो चुकी है। अभी भी आप तस्वीरें देख रहे हैं कि जो 2 ट्रक है वो अभी पानी में ही धंसे हुए हमें दिख रहे हैं और जो स्थानीय लोग भी प्रशासन की मदद कर रहे हैं रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में। और दूसरी अगर बात की जाए तो ऊपर की तस्वीरें जो है हम आपको दिखाने का प्रयास करेंगे क्योंकि काफ़ी मशक्क़त करने के बावजूद भी जो ये हैवी व्हीकल्स है उनको अभी बाहर नहीं निकाला गया है। उसी की वजह से प्रशासन की ओर से एक क्रेन जो है वो मंगवाई गई है और क्रेन की मदद से जो ये व्हीकल अंदर पानी में डूबे हुए हैं उनको बाहर निकालने का प्रयास जो है वो किया जाएगा। और यहाँ पे सबसे बड़ी बात कि पिछले 5 साल से यहाँ के स्थानीय लोग हैं वो प्रशासन को बता रहे थे कि ये जो ब्रिज है पूरा क्षतिग्रस्त है, ये इस्तेमाल करने के लायक नहीं है, लेकिन प्रशासन ने स्थानीय लोगों की एक भी नहीं सुनी और पिछले 5 साल में सिर्फ और सिर्फ ऊपर से मरम्मत करके ये ब्रिज का काम जो है वो चलाया गया।
વડોદરા ગ્રામ્ય અને આણંદ જિલ્લાને જોડતો બ્રિજ મહીસાગર નદી પર આવેલા ગંભીરા બ્રિજ પર આજે સવારે 7 વાગે જે વહેલી સવારે બ્રિજની જે દુર્ઘટના બની છે જેમાં હાલ સુધી 9 લોકો ખાસ કરીને 9 લોકોના મૃતદેહ મળ્યા છે અને 6 લોકોને રેસ્ક્યુ કરવામાં આવ્યા છે। આદરણીય મુખ્યમંત્રી શ્રી વહેલી સવારે જ એક હાઈ કમિટીને અહીંયાથી તાત્કાલિક સ્થળ પર મોકલી છે અને તાત્કાલિક આ તપાસનો રિપોર્ટ મંગાવ્યો છે અને મુખ્યમંત્રીશ્રીએ ગંભીરતાપૂર્વક તાત્કાલિક વિભાગની જે આરએનબી વિભાગની અને બીજી જે ટીમ છે એને ત્યાં રવાના જે કરી છે અને સાથે કડક પગલાં ભરવાની સૂચના આપી છે।
रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन सुबह से शुरू कर दिया है। लोकल स्विमर्स ने तुरंत काम किया था, बोट्स वहाँ पर आ गई थी, साथ ही साथ तुरंत ही नगर पालिका की टीम आ गई थी। खास करके हाल तुरंत हमें रेस्क्यू की कामगिरी पहले भाग में करनी है, तो रेस्क्यू की कामगिरी ऑनगोइंग है। अभी कोऑर्डिनेटेड एफर्ट से रेस्क्यू में जो सबसे पहले अगर कोई ह्यूमन बॉडी है उसको बाहर निकालना है, अगर कोई वहाँ पर लाइफ हम सेव करते हैं तो उस दिशा में कोशिश हमारी जारी है। सेकंड प्रायोरिटी उसके बाद जो व्हीकल्स है उसको हम बाहर निकालेंगे। ट्रैफिक डाइवर्ट ऑलरेडी कर दिया है और बाकी यहाँ पर जो ट्रैफिक जाम हुआ है उसको भी हम वहाँ पर धीरे धीरे क्लियर करने की प्रोसेस भी हमने शुरू कर दी। थैंक यू सर।
ये अभी मही नदी पे ये ब्रिज पे अभी सुबह एक इंसिडेंट पता लगा है जिसमें एक स्पान डैमेज हुआ है और अभी एक्सीडेंट हुआ, उसका रिपोर्ट हम ले रहे हैं। एक्सपर्ट की टीम भेजी हमने।
Some news from the entertainment world. While everyone is going gaga over Ranveer Singh's gritty avatar in his upcoming action thriller Dhurandhar, fans cannot help but notice Sara Arjun, once a child actress, now playing Ranveer's love interest in this film. The 20-year-old, who has worked in films like Ponniyin Selvan, is all set to conquer Bollywood. I'm leaving you with this story.
Ever since Dhurandhar's explosive first look dropped on Ranveer Singh's 40th birthday on Sunday, marking his grand comeback, fans have not been able to keep calm. While Ranveer's gritty new avatar is making all the noise, there is one more thing that has caught everyone's attention. Ranveer Singh's love interest in the film. A mystery girl seen dancing, riding pillion with Ranveer and sharing a moment on the dance floor. So of course, the internet is buzzing with one big question. Who is she? Well, if you are wondering too, don't worry, we have got you covered. That striking new face is 20-year-old Sara Arjun. And while this might be her debut as a leading lady, she is far from new to the spotlight. Born in 2005, she is the daughter of actor Raj Arjun and has practically grown up in front of the camera. She first appeared in a commercial at just over a year old after being spotted at a mall. Her big break came in 2011 with the Tamil film Daiva Tirumangal, where she played Vikram's daughter and delivered a performance far beyond her years. Since then, she has appeared in several notable films like Ek Thi Dayan, Saivam and San Ki Aankh. But it was her role as young Nandini in Mani Ratnam's Ponniyin Selvan, the 800 crore rupees blockbuster where she played the younger version of Aishwarya Rai's character. That remains her career highlight till date. Also, fun fact, in 2022, Sara reportedly had a net worth of 10 crore rupees, making her India's richest child actor at the time. Now in Dhurandhar, she is making her big screen debut opposite Ranveer Singh, and her presence, though brief in the teaser, is already making waves. From child prodigy to leading lady, Sara Arjun is here to conquer Bollywood. Are you excited to see this new on-screen jodi?
Paris Haute Couture Week has kicked off on Monday and it has already set the internet on fire. Here are some of the highlights.
Director Daniel Roseberry. His latest show, boldly named Back to the Future, has the fashion world completely mesmerized. Mostly because of one jaw-dropping masterpiece, the beating heart necklace. A stunning bright red gown, sleeveless and sleek with a sculpted breastplate on the back. But wait, just when you catch your breath, your eyes are pulled to the pièce de résistance. A necklace shaped like an anatomically inspired heart that actually beats right on her back. Covered in dripping red rubies, it is spooky, it is artistic, it is haute couture drama at its finest. The front row was dripping with glam too. If you thought Dua Lipa was just there to watch, think again. She turned heads in a stunning sculptural white dress straight from Schiaparelli's Spring 2024 collection. And just when you thought
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Bihar witnessed the same old raga today. The Congress and allied parties crying over the special intensive review of the electoral rolls ahead of elections. For some reason, they contend that this exercise this time is going to be problematic, while all such exercises in the past have seen hardly any opposition. Raising doubts over the electoral process and the election commission itself, Rahul Gandhi once again repeated his allegations against the electoral rolls in Maharashtra, an election the Congress lost against expectations. But the ECI is not backing down either. It has